Hi, this is Phyllis Jones, Chair of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance, calling to order the meeting October 7th, 2020. For roll call purposes, can I have each member please state their name and that they're here?
Stacy Leibowitz here.
Jeff French here.
Linda Byers here.
Okay. And are there any guests in the room yet? Nope. Okay. All right. The first order of business is the North Andover Commission on Diversity and Inclusion. Stacy, you are our go-to for that North Andover Commission. Has anything been done? What can you tell us as an update?
So the only update I have is that, and I'm spacing on her name, but I think the person who runs the commission reached out to all of us, and we're still trying to get a meeting on the books. So people have shared the times and dates that work best for them. I think they're trying to get something on the books for later in October.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now.
Hey, that's an update.
Start, and it'll be a video. It'll be a video meeting. So.
Oh, okay, which is even better.
Yeah.
Which is even better. Next on the agenda is school department special ed update. Linda, that's your baby. Were you able to make any sort of connection with North Andover Parents Advisory Council, or have you heard anything from anybody that you need to bring to our attention?
No, I have not.
Okay. And for the record, and nobody thinks that Linda hasn't been doing her job, we originally did have a meeting scheduled, her, myself, and the North Andover Parents Advisory Council, that I was unable to attend due to a personal emergency. So I don't want anybody to think that Linda wasn't doing her job. Next, let's talk about the North Andover Historic Society. I had hoped Tom Galvin and or James Warden would be coming on to the meeting. I did tell them it was 6 o'clock, but I had sent around, what was it, close to a dozen pictures and a couple of PDFs, just to give you some way of background. I was contacted by Mr. Warden from the Historical Society. They're in the process of trying to refab that building, beautiful brick structural building by the Old Town Common that used to have the printing press museum in it.
Yep.
And they're trying to make it more useful for the town. They realize, it's an old building. It's not as old as I thought it was. I thought it was like 100 years old. It's only from the 1960s. But obviously what was in place in the 1960s for requirements versus what we expect today in terms of requirements, quite different. And he called me in primarily because they're hoping to get before the Board of Selectmen for their next meeting, which I believe is this coming Monday, I think. I could be wrong on that date, don't quote me. If you have the pictures in front of you, you will see a picture with an exit sign, and there is some, it almost looks like some purplish foam padding at the bottom of the floor. And there's a cutout there for an opening. And what they want to do is they want to put a ramp in there that goes to their theater, which is, if you walk through the front door of the building, it's as far down, straight down as you can go is the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't get the ramp to the maximum requested amount for ADA compliance in terms of how high the ramp has to be. The ramp would still be within the ADA requirements in terms of the height, but they need to go to the town to ask for a special dispensation. And they were coming to us to give our seal of approval for the.
Phyllis, excuse me. What picture is that? Which one of those pictures am I going to be looking at? Do you know?
It is, you will see, let me see if I can give you a better idea. There's a gentleman with a black mask and a blue shirt and some pants looking down at this purplish foam sort of thing at the bottom. It's a black wall behind him.
Mm.
Okay, I'm looking at that one as well.
Yep, I have that too.
All right, hold on one second. I just got a text from Tom Galvin, who's saying he can't find the link that I sent him earlier today. So bear with me while I find that and email that to him.
Have they addressed door widths?
They have, and that's something else that I wanted to bring up with everything. Let me just send him the information here. Bear with me. They do realize that the door widths are extremely small. And I did explain to them that they are going to have to do something with some of the door widths. Unfortunately, because of structural issues, like if you happen to look at another email that I had sent where you're on tile looking at a wall that's yellow, but it has barks coverings on the trimming. The ability to navigate in that area, I mean, for somebody who's overweight, it's difficult to navigate that so close. But the structural integrity doesn't allow for them to do anything with it, unfortunately. So they are amply aware of the fact that where possible, they do need to change up the door widths like they did in the bathrooms. They were able to properly get those bathrooms changed up. But the downside is if somebody goes into the theater and uses the ramp to go into the theater, in order to go back into the rest of the facility, if they're there to do something else beyond that, they're going to unfortunately have to go back in and out again because the door width getting into the theater, it is just so small.
Yeah, it looks like it's 30 inches.
Yeah, I that was one of the things I said to them flat out. I said, there's no way in the world you're going to be able to get a wheelchair down here, accessible. And they did say that they were going to do what they could to try, but there would always be somebody there, to help people with accessibility. But I still think to try to get through that door, through that way, there's not going to be a way to get a wheelchair through that. It's very small. And again, it's,
I mean, I'm somewhat versed with construction, and to me, there's looking at the plan. There should be no reason why they couldn't open that door up further. I mean,
which
I don't
one?
understand the one into the theater. If you're looking at the second plan, number 2, and the theater floor, I'm not exactly sure, but I just don't understand why they can't open that up further. I mean, a door frame is relatively simple. Yes, it might mean that they're going to have to open up a wall a little bit more and put a new header in to support, the framing. But that's done all the time. That's a fairly easy construction.
Well, I will leave that to you to ask when they ask what's going on. I just want to make sure my phone is plugged in properly. All right. I want to make sure I don't lose. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I just didn't want to lose battery and get disconnected. Yeah, I got a text from Mr. Galvin saying that he was trying to get on, and I sent him the login information. So I guess at this point we're just waiting for him.
We just came in.
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt.
wonderful. No, it's hard to see when you can't see.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to do it through the Google piece of it, thinking that we were going to have a video display so I could share my information with everybody. So phone call's fine too. We can talk about the project. I did send you the information earlier. I don't know if you distributed that to everybody.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And it's just Thomas. Is James there as well?
James should be joining us. We were going back and forth to figure out which way we were going to go with the Google. So we'll do it as a phone call.
Okay.
He should be coming in soon. We can just give him a minute or so.
Thomas, could you just quickly introduce yourself, if you wouldn't mind?
No, absolutely. My name is Tom Galvin. I am with, formerly LaGrasse and Associates. We just changed over to LaGrasse, Yanowitz and File. So two of the partners moved in. So the new name is LYF Architects, and we're in Andover, Massachusetts, right in the downtown area on Elm Square. And we've been involved in architecture in the area for the last 30 years. I've been with the company for 20 years. And with the Historical Society, we came on board about 4 years ago with them. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the building, the Caroline Stephen Rogers building. Formerly, it was used as a textile museum. Back in 1960, they constructed the building. And I don't remember his name, but one of the Stevens had a lot of looms and fabrics and textiles from the area mills. And he wanted an area to show these features. So they constructed the building, and for about 30 years, it was used as a textile museum. And then about 1998, I think it was, they had moved over to Lowell. They had a space over there. And then the building was taken over by the Print Museum, which that came in about 20 years ago. And they were in effect till about 2014. And then they closed shop and they moved over to Haverhill to a smaller space. So the building's been vacant for the last 4 to 5 years. They had tried a couple times to see if they could find private developers to take over the building with a 100-year lease or something of that nature, either do it as a business development or residential. They had some interest in it, but no one was looking to pull the trigger on it. So James, when he ends up coming in, he is a member of the Historical Society. He's one of the board members there. He had put a program together how to improve the building through donations. So again, this is all volunteer work that's been happening at the building. What they're looking to do is they have insulated the building. So the thermal envelope of the building has been completely improved. They have improved all the windows to thermal pane windows. They're looking to modify the doors also to give a better thermal performance. All of this in an effort to create a better sustainable building. The future goal is to now do geothermal for the building, eliminate the gas-fired heating system that exists in the building, and bring geothermal in and utilize heat pumps to heat and cool the building, and using the ground's temperature to do that. In addition to that, if you've been by the property recently, you'll notice the solar panels on the building. So again, the sustainability of the building is a focus of James. Again, helping that long-term cost because again, the Historical Society exists through donations. So with that, they wanted a very efficient building, and that's what a lot of this program is doing. In the handouts that I sent you, you'll see that some of the visions to have the exhibit spaces having one, a historical wing. So having a lot of the artifacts that are being stored in basements and other sites, bring them all together so that it becomes more of an education feature, part of the historical society, and having an exhibit hall for all those artifacts. On the next wing is going to be called the energy wing, looking at how we make buildings more efficient, using these pieces that have been done in the improvement of the building to demonstrate how efficient the building has become through the insulation that's used. He actually is going to have a cutout of the panel where the foamed-in insulation is going to be shown through the wall, and you'll be able to notice the difference in temperature because of the cutout will be closer to the brick wall, and then you'll have the thermal performance of the foam insulation. So again, trying to have more of the vision of what we can do as a society to improve our energy use and the efficiency of our buildings. And then the third component on the first level is the theater. And that's what we're here to talk to everybody about tonight. The theater was just a vision of James to have a community space for performing arts and also to have a lot of the films that they have from the Historical Society of some of the historic sites in town, some of the notable people who are in town, and just do a film presentation of these aspects also. So the theater is going to be a 63 seats theater. With that, we will have 4 accessible seating areas. And because of the floor levels, originally the building that the theater is going in was used for a library stack area. It was 4 stories or 4 floors of bookshelving. And these books were historical collections, artifacts, pieces from when it was the textile museum, different textile items. And then when it was the print museum, I think they were using a portion of it for different typesettings and what have you.
Excuse me, Tom.
Yes.
Excuse me, Tom. Is that the, when you're referring to the 4 floors, is that the graphic that's on page 4 of the schematics?
Yes.
Where it shows 4 levels. The ground floor actually it shows, it looks like 3 levels.
Right. If I could just jump in, there are 3 levels to the building. So there's a basement, a first level, which is where we're going to have the exhibit halls in the theater. And then the second floor is more of office space. And it was utilized for when there was the print museum, they had a lot of their typesetting areas and they did printing in that second floor area. But the stack area, which is, if you're looking at the graphics of the floor plan, the portion to the left of those plans, the rectangle at the very left of that footprint, that was the stack area or library section. So
okay.
the floors did not align. So again, we had a basement level that was level with the basement, but then they had a 7'6" floor to floor height, which the existing floors of the original building, I think it was 9'2" from the basement to the first level, and then 11'4" from the first floor to the second floor. So these floors did not align. And I think in the sections that I sent to you of the theater building, you'll see how those floors are offset from each other. So this conversation is really about the first level of the main building and how in that stack area, it's about 19 inches below that first level. So we need a ramp in order to accommodate accessibility from the ground floor of the existing exhibit building down to the theater room. So
All right, I see that.
Okay, so one of the conflicts we have here is the existing masonry opening is only 36 inches wide. And then as you progress into the space, you'll notice there are posts. They're about a 4x4 post. They're steel frames. And those are 36 inches from edge of post to edge of post. So just enough. And then they widen out to the outermost portion, which supports the catwalk above. So with that restriction, it keeps us to about a 36-inch wide ramp. And in Massachusetts, the MAAB, we're required to have 48 inches for the ramp. So our variance request to the MAAB is to allow us to have a 36-inch continuous ramp through the space down to the lower level.
Now,
Okay.
Jeff, I'm going to ask you, because where you walk with the double cane, how easy would that amount of space be for you to navigate?
Well, 36 inches is a fairly wide space to for somebody with crutches. However, with for somebody who's in a large wheelchair, it would be very difficult.
Okay.
They would probably not even be able to maneuver through the door very well.
Now, are you talking about self-maneuver, and if they had somebody help them down the ramp, that they would be able to do it?
Either way, a wheelchair for somebody who is obese is quite large. It's quite wide, and when you add the seat width with the wheel width and the hub, it really pretty much approaches 36 inches. So I see that as a bit of a problem. But I don't know, where you've got all that supporting the mezzanines above, how you would do that other than trying to move some of that steel post. I mean, obviously the door can be opened to nearly any width. But I think that it's the mezzanines above are what the problem is.
Thomas, can you
Yeah.
comment to that?
Am I correct in that?
As far as opening the masonry?
Yeah, opening the masonry and making the door opening wider is not a huge thing. I mean, yes, it does involve maybe some concrete cutting, and they might have to, I'm assuming that all of the interior structure is steel or metal. It's not wood framed. Is it? Is it wood
No,
framed?
this is not. So the existing buildings are a solid masonry wall. We have 16 inches of masonry. What they did was a CMU wall with a brick veneer. So that's where the 16 inches comes from. So it's a 12-inch block and then a 4-inch brick veneer.
So not all of the walls are that way. The exterior, are you talking the exterior walls only, or are you talking the interior walls as well?
In the interior also, yes. The construction of this building was like a bombshell. They used masonry walls. Yeah, exactly. So they have a 5-inch thick concrete slab with support. We have the original documents if you're interested in taking a look at those. So yes, so we have concrete slabs with masonry walls.
Again, yes, it would be expensive because you're going to have to do some concrete cutting, and in order to get that door opening wider. But I think the biggest issue is with the structure that's overhead, that all of those steel girders are supporting all that mezzanine structure that's above it, above the theater.
Just the catwalk area is really the steel structure that's the library stack area.
Okay.
Do you see, is the axonometric part of the presentation that I sent to you? I'm trying to remember what I forwarded to everybody.
I'm looking at the theater Axon, yes. Now,
Yes, so-
are they going to be using those mezzanines?
Well, what that is for is the theater lighting, the projection area, any display lighting also. So on those upper two tiers, those are employee areas really for staff in order to set lighting for, let's say you're doing a musical performance or maybe a lecture or something of that nature. So we have different lighting effects that can happen on those stages, on the catwalks, I should say.
All right. Is it possible to change the structure of that second level to allow for a wider door opening so that the handicap access could be met?
To meet the 4-foot opening? No.
Yes.
That would
very cost
I
prohibitive.
think James just joined us. I think he was the one who was saying no.
Costly.
Do you want to
yes.
add in, James?
I understand that.
Yeah, I'm here.
James, if you could just introduce yourself, please. It's Phyllis.
I'm sorry. This is James Worden, manager of the renovation project and at the Carolyn Stevens Center.
And you're
Working with Tom.
affiliated with the North Andover Historical Society.
Yes, I'm on the board there.
Now, I'm looking, James and Tom, I'm looking at the theater Axon on I believe it's the 4th page. And I see on the second level above the door that mezzanine, or whatever you want to call it, is raised above the level of the other. Is there a reason for that? Is that to allow it to be above the door height?
That is correct. That is, so we have the head height coming in through that door opening.
All right. So
as I said-
if a person is walking on that second level and they want to go from the left-hand side over the door and then onto the right-hand side of that, how do they access that? They have to step up? Is that one step?
Yeah, so it's a 9-inch
That's
step
correct.
over.
All right.
Not
So
an
my
accessible step.
my question would be, would that be able to be, that second mezzanine, would that be able to be cut back somewhat, and then maybe stairs allowing it to go over, or another platform like you have over the door, in order to make the door opening ADA compliant? And I know it's costly to cut into concrete and to do all of that. I'm not questioning that. I'm just asking if it's feasible to do it.
Tom can say more. It's technically possible, but it would massively outscale the whole project we're doing, and we don't have funds for that. I guess did Tom explain the deviation or waiver or whatever we're seeking to?
Yes, he did.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, you want to go from 48 inches to 36 inches.
Yeah. Which is it meets ADA in most states, but it doesn't. It meets ADA and it meets most state requirements, but it doesn't meet Massachusetts requirement. But Tom explained about how the second egress door and all the other things that we are doing.
No, we didn't. Yeah, we
We
didn't get
haven't
to
gotten
that one
that far
yet.
yet.
Well, maybe
started with the
Tom
ramp.
should just walk through the whole thing. Tom,
Well-
I'm having trouble finding your document, so I'm not looking at what we're looking at. I searched by your name. Is there something you can quickly point me to? I don't want to waste our time here, but
Nope.
I'm just not looking at any. Okay.
I will forward what we're looking at.
We're letting Jeff kind of take up the lead on a lot of this questioning because his professional background is dealing with real estate. So he has a lot of background and experience on what can and cannot be done with buildings in order to make them ADA compliant. Is that a fair assessment, Jeff?
Yeah. I think that you're overstating it a little bit. I am familiar with building construction, and I have done some studying of the ADA requirements. And I am also handicapped and have been confined to a wheelchair for a period of time. And I know what it is to maneuver through a door that is slightly wider than the chair itself. So, and it is a problem. First of all, I have jammed my hands a number of times trying to get through a door that was too small for my wheelchair.
Meaning 36?
No, actually, I was trying to get through a 32-inch door, so.
Yeah, that's actually, it's funny you say that, because the 32-inch door is just the one we tore out and tore it back to the jams behind all the wood and the door. We took that door is gone, but there's not going to be a door. But the doorway we're proposing is 36.
Okay.
The space, but there will be no door.
If I could just jump in. So Jeff, if you're looking at the floor plan, and this is the sheet A302 that we were talking about. So that was our design document. When you look at the floor plan, in the center of the space is the ramp that we have coming in. And then in the upper left, we have a new doorway going out to the parking lot.
Okay.
So it's intended for an egress, but it could also be used for ingress for someone who does have a problem navigating these columns and posts and the opening. So we're elevating.
Actually, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, that might work. That would allow somebody who's in a wheelchair, whether it be a hand-operated one or an electric one, to get through that door if it is wide enough. Now, how wide is that door going to be?
This is a 36-inch door.
Okay.
It is 36 inches. And we're coming onto a 5-foot platform on the interior because our grade outside of this space is actually 6 inches above the floor level. So we raised the sill of that door, and that's the reason for the platform and the short ramp that you see in the space.
Okay. All right.
This may be a easier maneuver than coming through all the theater seating. But again, our variance request is really for the ramp coming from the main floor down to the theater space. That's the conversation we're trying to have right now. And I can understand your point that yes, through construction, you can do anything. We can add steel beams to this. We can support the whole upper levels. It's really a cost that we're hoping to avoid. And this is the prohibitive part, when you look at costs and doing this. Right now, this project, all said and done, is costing the society $600,000 to make all these improvements, to get it to a move-in space. A lot of this has been donations. Yeah, right. So with that, now we're talking about adding another $20,000 or $30,000 to improve all these components, to widen the door frame out, to add steel in so that we can move these steel columns. Because again, those columns go from the basement all the way to the third floor.
Right, that's a key thing. So they start in the basement at the bottom of the basement.
So if I can interject for a moment, I'd like to make a motion that allows me to reach out to our state delegation on Beacon Hill to see if maybe there are any funds available that the Historical Society can tap to help with ADA compliance issues. Can I make a motion on that?
I second.
Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The ayes have it. Okay, I will send out an email to all 4 members of our state delegation. I'd like to make a separate motion to possibly reach out to our federal delegation to see if there's any funds available through our federal. I'll contact primarily, it would be Congressman Moulton, assuming that he still is our congressman come January. I know he's up for re-election right now. So I'd like to make a motion to try to see if the federal government might have any special funding that might be available to nonprofits such as this to help with ADA compliance and refurbishing old buildings. Can I hear a second on
I
that
second
motion?
that.
Second.
Second.
All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that's Stacy, Jeff, and Linda have voted, in addition to myself, Phyllis, have voted in favor of both of those motions. The ayes have it. Great. I will reach out to both our federal and our state delegations to see what we can try to help find additional funding for the Historical Society to assist with ADA compliance, to try to do our part on that.
No, this additional help could also hopefully be something with elevator to the second floor and all the other things that we're talking about. If it's okay to talk about the theater a little more, the issue with the 36 versus 48 inches doesn't just affect getting in the beginning of the building. It affects all the seating layout, the space that's available to the poles on the top. It would basically throw off the whole layout, and we would only be able to get probably 50 seats in which case we won't even need the second egress door. It changes the whole game on the whole thing.
Yeah, I noted that. I noted that if it was
tight.
wider, that you would lose at least one whole row of seats. One whole all the way down.
Aisle,
so yes, aisle, right. It would definitely impact it. And I would like to see you get as many people in there as possible. And I think the 36-inch, frankly, would work for most people.
Is it possible that for the people that it wouldn't work for, that they can come in directly from the parking lot through that level platform inside through that 36-inch door, if that's more comfortable and convenient? Because that's going to be a very nice panic bar door with an opener, with a closer.
I would say yes.
Here's the
I would
question.
say yes.
I'm sorry, go on, Jeff. Finish up, please.
Go ahead. No, I would say that yes, that would be a very acceptable way to handle getting in for a handicapped person, say with an electric wheelchair.
The only concern and question I had, and I think I brought this up to you gentlemen when we were talking, was that if then there's something going on, maybe an after party event going on in the main hall outside of the theater, once the theater is done, now we've got issues with the person who ended up having to use that side entrance. Do they now have to go back outside again to come back in the front hallway?
Yes, that would be a concern.
There's also another double door in the back there, Tom, that dark room that they could go in, but they still have to go out and travel 40 feet to get to that other door.
Right, but this board deals with inclusion. So being able to use the same process as everyone else.
Exactly.
No, I understand.
Because that could open up the town to a ton of civil rights lawsuits by not being able to have equal access.
Right.
I mean, the real question here is, can the 36-inch between the rows of seats and through that entryway where there is no door, it's an open entryway through the back there, can we get a waiver for that use in this particular case to fit this all together? That's the ask here. With all the other things being as they need to be, the indications along the edge of that second egress edge and whatever should be along the seating rows. So I guess it's an issue of Massachusetts versus other, right, Thomas, the MAAB versus most other states allow 36 inches without a door going into a place of assembly with between rows of seats with a 1 in 12
So if we
ramp.
were looking at it from an ADA issue, the federal guidelines, the 36 inches would be acceptable. But with Massachusetts and the Architectural Access Board, they widen the ramp out to 48 inches.
Right, that's the issue.
Yeah, and I'll be blunt, what New York and Ohio and Wisconsin do doesn't concern us. It concerns us whether or
Understood.
not it's ABA compliant or ADA compliant or state compliant. And the state can always put on more requirements than the federal government. They just
Right.
can't put on less.
Right. So the question is, in this one case, in this one piece of our building, in this theater, can you guys support that, and can the state give that dispensation or deviation or whatever you call it, waiver for this entryway, this particular entryway to the theater?
I know you gentlemen are trying to get this in front of the Board of Selectmen sooner rather than later. But in fairness to the other board members, I wanted to open it up and see if it might be beneficial for other board members who are questioning the situation to maybe go over there and be shown that theater access. Because Jeff, I will tell you right now, you will not be able to access the second floor. I had a hard time making it up those stairs myself.
Well,
No, the
as
second floor is not accessible right now.
Or the
That's
third
a whole
floor.
nother issue.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I understand that it's under ADA requirements. You don't have to have that second floor because you're only 2 stories high. And getting back
Actually,
to the width
they're
of
3 stories, Jeff. They're 3 stories.
there are 3
Including
stories.
the basement.
Yeah.
Well, including the basement.
All
I
right.
think we're confusing things here. We're talking about the theater catwalks or the building itself, because the catwalks, the theater area is 4 stories. The building is 3 stories, including the basements in all cases.
I don't know if the law requires, if they count the basement as a floor. But I was just looking up the size of a bariatric wheelchair, and the widest that the wheels are would be 32 inches. So it would fit into a 36-inch doorway.
Okay.
As,
Would that person probably need a little bit of extra assistance, maybe maneuvering down the ramp without getting their knuckles chewed off?
Hands, right, on those chairs.
that's a possibility, yeah.
Jeff, because you're really our point person when it comes to these types of questions, would you like to try to make an appointment with these gentlemen to see it firsthand, or between the pictures and the schematics, do you feel you have a good enough handle on what we're dealing with?
No, I've looked at the schematics here, and everything looked great, and I have seen the building. I went to the meeting that with Mr. Zarico when he was looking to possibly turn that into a condominium complex, and so I've seen the building itself. No, I'm comfortable with that, and I'm comfortable now with that 36-inch door opening.
Okay, and gentlemen, I would assume that as things progress, you'll keep the commission involved in terms of making sure that things either become or are already ADA compliant at a minimum, to make sure that things
Well, that was the
are
reason.
proceeding?
Absolutely, Phyllis. I mean, that was the reason for reaching out to you. Anytime I've done this in another facility, I always try and reach out to the local disabilities commission, because I feel that you're going to weigh in, especially if we need a variance. that it's going to be important to have you on board. So definitely, as we talked about when we walked through the building, we are looking to potentially add either a Lula or a full passenger elevator. So that's definitely something we would be bringing back in front of you.
And
Oh, that would be great.
and Jeff, if you look at the well, everybody, if you look at the pictures that I had sent around, it's kind of difficult to tell, but if you see on the pictures, you'll see what looks to be almost like a floor opening. This is from the 3rd level, a floor opening that could be opened up to bring like cargo or whatever through it. There's a bunch of
You talking on the 4th page of that brochure piece?
I'm not even talking about the 4th page of the brochure piece. I'm talking
okay.
about the pictures I myself
You're
sent
talking
around.
about the pictures themselves.
Exactly. There's some fiberglass on top of the steel grating. And it looks like something that would have probably been used to bring up some sort of cargo type of lift. They're talking about either possibly putting a Lula there, or I'm sorry?
No,
I think it's background noise.
Oh, okay. And then there's an area, it's hard to tell with the way they took these pictures, but the rooftop is almost at, is that a 45-degree slant, gentlemen, that the roof comes up?
About that.
Not quite, less.
Not quite, okay. And you'll see, it looks like there's a cutout area that could have been either for ducting or maybe a window or something. That's immediately on the other side of that little quote unquote hall of where the cargo lift is, where they were talking about possibly even trying to put an elevator in there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
On the back elevation, yes, that's correct.
So, you know, that's something that I was hoping we could also work with them on as things get closer, especially if we can try to see if we can secure some state or federal funding for historical monuments to try to help bring them more ADA or mass level ADA compliant.
I would be in favor of that.
So
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
I think most people would prefer an actual elevator. That's
Yes,
just my
and
personal
there are
feeling.
other board members, right? There are other board members in the
Yeah.
Historical Society that feel strongly about that.
So
Yeah,
okay.
we want to put in what we can put the money together for, but the hope is that it'll either be a Lula or ideally a full elevator in that position where we're talking about.
And I would personally I'd rather see a full elevator. I just know from my personal standpoint, I'd feel more secure in a regular elevator
Right.
than anything else. Okay. I'm going to put it out there for, I'm going to ask first off, are there any other questions, comments, queries, or concerns that we have of Thomas and or James?
No,
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 Okay.
no.
I'm going to ask, do we feel comfortable making a motion and voting on this? Or does anybody want to, you know, I put it out there for Jeff. Does anybody else out there want to take a look at the property beyond the pictures and the schematics that we sent around?
I do want
We're
to go
happy
and
to
see.
show it.
Yes, please.
yeah, I agree. I think it would make sense for us to see it up close. The pictures
Yeah,
are a little limiting.
yeah, I definitely want to go and see.
Okay. Thomas, do you want to give them your contact information right now so that they can make arrangements with you offline?
If you have everybody's email, you can forward the emails from me that has all my contact information,
Okay.
including my cell number on that, and also the office location and everything of that nature.
Okay. So what I will do, folks, is with Thomas's permission that he's just given, I will send everybody contact information for Thomas. And James, does that go for you as well? I can share your contact information?
Yes, and Tom will coordinate too, but sure, you can absolutely send my information out.
Okay. Our next meeting Just trying to get this in front of me, and of course, too many screens, too little time.
No, November
I mean,
4th.
Is it
I mean,
November
we can
4th?
be there
Yeah.
even this week. We can show things. It's no problem. As long as
Well,
it's
the question becomes, excuse me, whether or not we have ample time to try to put in another meeting. Because I had mentioned
before
before,
the state meeting. Right?
because unfortunately we are all volunteers and we all have full-time jobs. And I have to give the town a certain amount of notice before putting a meeting together. You know, so I don't know what the town's availability would be to give us the ability to do that. When were you looking to meet with the state again?
Well, the 19th is their next meeting date. So I think we're going to push into November.
Okay. When is the November meeting?
I think it's 4 weeks after that. I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, so if it's 4
Wow.
weeks after that, and our next meeting is November 4, which is the first Wednesday in November, and actually on the first week, because Sunday is the first. I think that might give Stacy and Linda and Jeff, if you change your mind, sufficient time to be able to get with you and take a look and make a decision so that we can come back on November 4 and take a vote on it. I know it's not what you guys were hoping, but
No.
but I unfortunately do have to open it up to the commission members as a whole in order to be able to give them the opportunity. And unfortunately, I couldn't just send an email around saying, hey, I'm going, you want to come with me? Because then that's seen as having a meeting without actually inviting the public to participate in that conversation. So we've got basic information in front of everybody. I'd like to make a motion to take this matter up again on November 4 to then vote at that time as to whether or not to support the special dispensation that they're looking for from the state on this matter. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that was Stacy, Jeff, Linda, and myself, all ayes. Are there any negatives or nays out there? Hearing no nays, we will take this matter up again on our meeting on November 4. Gentlemen, I invite you to be at that meeting as well, as if you'd like, in case there are any additional questions that anybody might have that for whatever reason were not answered either on personal tours or through any other conversations. If you're at all interested in attending, it'll be the
I would
same
definitely be there.
platform.
Yep.
It'll be the same platform.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think that is all that I had on the agenda. I have an area open for public comment. Was there anybody out there who needed to make or desired to make any public comment? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting to be then picked up again on November 4. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that's Stacy, Jeff, Linda, and myself, all in the affirmative. Any negative or nays? Hearing no nays, I adjourn the Commission on Ability Assistance until November 4, at which time we will take up again the Historical Society request for our support regarding the ramp.